Have you ever watched one of those documentaries about the world's blue zones? You see people living on remote islands or in mountain villages, eating special herbs and climbing hills every day. And you think to yourself, well, that's nice for them. But I live in Ohio. I'm not about to move to Greece and start herding goats. And if you felt that way, I want you to know you're not alone. The idea can feel a little unrealistic, a bit condescending even. It suggests that a long, healthy life isn't possible right here, in the communities we've built, with the lives we already lead. But what if I told you that the very foundation of those blue zones is now being seriously questioned by scientists? What if recent investigations have pointed to things like poor record keeping, clerical errors, and even pension fraud as possible explanations for the extreme longevity in some of these areas? One researcher even found that people in Okinawa, so famous for their vegetable-rich diet, actually have the lowest vegetable consumption in all of Japan. It's a startling thought. What if the secret to a long and vibrant life isn't about moving to a far-flung paradise, but about understanding what the most successful agers are doing right here in America? Today, we are going on a deep dive, not into a foreign land, but into the science and wisdom of American centenarians. We're going to uncover 5 specific science-backed longevity habits of people who have lived to be 100 years old, right here at home. These aren't about overhauling your entire life. They are about targeted, powerful adjustments that focus on what truly matters. We're going to talk about your health span, the number of years you remain healthy, active, and independent, because the goal isn't just to add years to your life, but to add life to your years. And if you've ever told yourself, well, this ache, this loneliness, this feeling of slowing down, it's just part of getting older, I'm here today to respectfully and powerfully challenge that idea. We live in a strange paradox in the United States. We're one of the wealthiest nations on Earth, with access to incredible medical technology, yet we lag behind many other developed countries when it comes to life expectancy. This tells us something crucial. Money and fancy procedures aren't the primary drivers of a long and healthy life. The real magic lies in our daily habits, our mindset, and the way we connect with the world around us. So in this video, we're going to bypass the fads and the confusing headlines. We're going to lean on some of the most robust, long-term research ever conducted, including the incredible Harvard study of adult development, which has been tracking people for over 80 years to find out what really makes for a good, long life. We will explore 5 core habits, one by one, that have been shown to make a profound difference. And I promise you, these are habits you can start cultivating today without buying a plane ticket. We'll look at why each habit works, hear stories of those who've lived it, and I'll give you a simple, concrete action step for each one. We'll start with a habit that has nothing to do with your diet or exercise, but everything to do with what happens between your ears. Let's begin with the first longevity habit of 100-year-old Americans. They cultivate a resilient and optimistic mindset. Now, I know what you might be thinking. Optimism? That sounds a bit soft, a bit Pollyanna. And in a world filled with difficult news and personal challenges, being told to just be positive can feel dismissive. But we're not talking about a blind, naive positivity. We're talking about something much deeper, more rugged, psychological resilience. It's the learned ability to face life's inevitable hardships, the loss of a loved one, a health setback, a financial worry, without letting them permanently break your spirit. It's the core belief that you can and will get through it. Think about the generation of Americans who are centenarians today. They lived through the Great Depression, World War II, the Cold War, and countless personal trials. Theirs was not an easy ride. Yet, a fascinating study on the personality traits of centenarians, published in the journal Aging, found they consistently scored low on neuroticism and high on conscientiousness and extroversion. In simple terms, they don't tend to dwell in anxiety and worry. They handle stress effectively and tend to be engaged with the world. This isn't just a personality quirk. It's a powerful biological shield. When we are chronically pessimistic or anxious, our bodies are flooded with stress hormones like cortisol. Over time, high cortisol levels can damage our immune system, increase blood pressure, and even shrink the parts of our brain responsible for memory. Optimism, on the other hand, acts as a buffer against this chronic stress. And the science on this is truly staggering. A major study involving nearly 160,000 women from diverse backgrounds, funded by the National Institutes of Health, found that the most optimistic individuals had an 11 to 15% longer lifespan. More importantly, they had a significantly higher chance of living past the age of 90, regardless of their race, education, or even their other health habits, like diet and exercise. Let that sink in. Your outlook on life could be more powerful than what's on your dinner plate. I once read about a woman named Matilda who reached her 103rd birthday. When a reporter asked for her secret, she didn't mention kale or treadmills. She said, "Honey, I've buried a husband, 2 of my children, and all of my friends. If I focused on what I've lost, I'd have been gone years ago. I wake up every morning, and I make it a point to find one small thing to be grateful for. The sun on my windowsill, the taste of my coffee, the fact that I can still get this old body out of bed. The bad stuff happens. It always will. The trick is not to let it be the whole story. That's not naive positivity. That is resilience in action. It's a conscious choice. So, what's the action step? It's simpler than you think. Tonight, before you go to bed, take out a piece of paper or a small notebook. Write down 3 specific things that went well today. It doesn't have to be monumental. Maybe your granddaughter called. Maybe the tomato you grew in your garden was perfectly ripe. Maybe you simply enjoyed a quiet cup of tea. By consciously focusing your attention on the good, however small, you begin to retrain your brain to see the world through a more balanced, resilient lens. You start to prove to yourself that even on hard days, there is good to be found. And of course, if you're experiencing a persistent low mood, a loss of interest in things you once enjoyed, and a sense of hopelessness, it's incredibly important to talk to your doctor. These can be signs of clinical depression, which is a medical condition that deserves and requires professional care. This resilient mindset provides the foundation for our next habit, because when you believe you can overcome challenges, you're more willing to invest in the very things that help you do so. This brings us to the second habit, which the Harvard study revealed as the single most important factor for a long and healthy life. It is the practice of prioritizing deep social fitness. I want you to notice, I didn't just say staying social. That's the advice we always hear, and it can be a little misleading. It conjures up images of joining clubs, going to parties, and having a full calendar. And while those things can be wonderful, the research points to something far more crucial. It's not the quantity of your relationships, but the quality and depth of them. The 80-year Harvard study of adult development is arguably the most important piece of research ever done on this topic. They followed 2 groups of men for their entire adult lives, one group of Harvard sophomores and another of boys from Boston's poorest neighborhoods. They tracked their health, their careers, their happiness, their marriages, everything. And after 8 decades of data, the director of the study, Dr. Robert Waldinger, came to a clear and profound conclusion. He said, "The surprising finding is that our relationships and how happy we are in our relationships has a powerful influence on our health." The clearest message that we get from this 80-year study is this: good relationships keep us happier and healthier. Period. It wasn't their cholesterol levels at age 50 that predicted how they'd be at age 80. It wasn't their social class, their IQ, or even their genes. It was the quality of their close relationships. People who were more socially connected to family, to friends, to community, were happier. They were physically healthier, and they lived longer than people who were less well-connected. In fact, the study found that profound loneliness was as toxic to our health as smoking half a pack of cigarettes a day. It can accelerate cognitive decline and increase the risk of an earlier death. These deep, supportive bonds act as powerful stress regulators. When you have someone you can call after a bad day, someone you can truly count on when you get a scary diagnosis, your body and brain are protected from the corrosive effects of going through it alone. Your nervous system can relax. Your brain stays sharper. Those relationships are like a vitamin for the soul and a shield for the body. I think of my own grandmother and her best friend Eleanor. They lived in different states for the last 30 years of their lives, but they had a standing appointment. Every Sunday night at 7 p.m., they would talk on the phone for an hour. They called it their weekly board meeting. They talked about their children, their health worries, the books they were reading, their memories. It wasn't a superficial "how are you" chat. It was a deep, uninterrupted space where they could be completely themselves. That weekly call was a lifeline. It was a form of social fitness that kept them both sharp, engaged, and emotionally buoyant well into their 90s. So here's your action step. Identify 1 or 2 key relationships in your life that you want to deepen. It could be a child, a sibling, or an old friend. This week, schedule a time to connect with them that goes beyond a quick text message or a brief chat. Make a phone call, set up a video chat, go for a walk or a cup of coffee, and when you're with them, ask questions that go a little deeper. Instead of "what's new," try "what's been on your mind lately?" or "what's been bringing you joy this week?" The goal is to move from simply reporting on your life to sharing your life. That is the essence of deep social fitness. And as with our last point, if you find yourself feeling profoundly isolated and unable to connect, please know that this is a serious health concern. Mention it to your doctor or a trusted family member. There are community resources available that can help bridge that gap. Having these strong relationships often gives us something else that is profoundly important, something that propels us forward each day. This naturally leads us to our third longevity habit: finding a purpose that gets you up in the morning. For many of us, our sense of purpose is deeply tied to our careers and raising our families. So when retirement comes and the children are grown, it can leave a vacuum. The days can start to feel untethered, blending one into the next. You might find yourself asking, "What am I for now?" This is a profoundly important question, and the answer is a critical component of a long and healthy life. Having a strong sense of purpose, what the Japanese call ikigai, or a reason for being, is consistently linked to a lower risk of mortality. Now, it's essential to understand that purpose doesn't have to mean finding a cure for cancer or writing a great American novel. For most American centenarians, their purpose is far more intimate and immediate. It's often deeply connected to family, community, and service. It's the reason you get out of bed when your joints are aching. It's the why that fuels your what. Researchers have found that people with a high sense of purpose are more likely to engage in healthy behaviors. They're more likely to get health screenings, eat well, and stay active. Why? Because they have something to stay healthy for. A sense of purpose also seems to buffer the body against stress, with studies showing it's linked to lower levels of inflammation, a key driver of many age-related diseases. It provides a narrative for your life, a sense that your existence matters and makes a difference to others, however small that circle of influence may be. It's the opposite of that fear so many of us have, the fear of becoming irrelevant or a burden. When you have a purpose, you are, by definition, a contributor. I remember reading about a 98-year-old man from Iowa. He wasn't a famous CEO or a politician. His great purpose in life was his tomato plants. He had a small backyard garden, and every single day during the summer, he would be out there at dawn, tending to his plants. He would carefully cultivate them, and when they were ripe, he'd load them into a little red wagon and pull it around the neighborhood, giving away fresh tomatoes to all his neighbors, especially the younger families who he knew were busy. His body was frail, but his purpose was strong. That garden got him out of bed. It got him into the sunshine. It connected him to his neighbors. It made him feel needed and appreciated. That is a purpose. It's not about legacy. It's about daily meaning. So what is your action step? Don't try to find your single grand life purpose. Instead, ask yourself a simpler question. What is one thing I can do this week that will be helpful to someone else? Maybe it's offering to watch your grandkids for an afternoon so your child can have a break. Maybe it's volunteering to read to children at the local library for just 1 hour. Maybe it's baking a loaf of bread for a neighbor who is going through a tough time. Or maybe it's dedicating focused time to a hobby you love, like quilting or woodworking, with the intention of creating something beautiful to give away. Start small. Purpose is not found, it is built, one small, meaningful act at a time. Of course, a complete and total loss of interest in all activities you once enjoyed can be a significant sign of depression, known as anhedonia. If this describes you, it's vital to speak with a healthcare professional. All right, let's just take a quick pause here. We are more than halfway through our 5 habits. We've talked about the incredible power of a resilient and optimistic mindset, the life-extending importance of deep social fitness, and the critical need for a purpose that gets you out of bed in the morning. These are the deep internal drivers of a long and healthy life. If you're finding this guide helpful and this information is resonating with you, I would be so grateful if you could take just 1 second to tap that like button below this video. It truly helps our channel reach more people who might need to hear this message. Thank you so much for that. Now, let's move from the internal to the external and talk about how these long-lived Americans treat their bodies. This brings us to habit number 4, which is a welcome relief for anyone who dreads the thought of high-intensity workouts. It is the habit of engaging in consistent, natural movement. You do not need to run marathons or become a CrossFit champion to live a long and healthy life. In fact, for many American centenarians, the idea of working out is a foreign concept. They don't exercise, they just live. Their activity is woven into the fabric of their day. It's walking to the store. It's getting down on their hands and knees in the garden. It's climbing the stairs in their home. It's a lifetime of consistent, gentle, natural movement. Our culture often promotes an all-or-nothing approach to fitness. We think if we can't spend an hour at the gym, then there's no point in doing anything at all. So we end up sitting for hours on end, which researchers have called the new smoking. The science is very clear on this. The human body wasn't designed for long periods of inactivity punctuated by brief, intense bursts of exercise. It was designed for near-constant, low-level motion. This type of activity keeps your joints lubricated, maintains your muscle mass and bone density, supports good circulation, and helps regulate your blood sugar. A major study published by the American Heart Association showed that even small, consistent amounts of moderate activity can dramatically increase life expectancy. Even just 15 minutes a day of brisk walking was shown to make a difference. The key words here are consistent and moderate. It's not about exhausting yourself. It's about regularly asking your body to do what it was made to do. There's a wonderful story about a woman who lived to be 102 in a small town in Pennsylvania. She never owned a car. Her entire life, if she needed to go to the post office, the grocery store, or to visit a friend, she walked. She didn't call it exercise, she just called it getting there. Her daily life demanded movement, and her body thanked her for it with over a century of service. It's this integration of movement into daily routine that seems to be the secret, not a punishing gym regimen. The action step here is to embrace the concept of movement snacking. Instead of carving out one huge block of time for exercise, find small pockets for movement throughout your day. When you're watching television, get up during every commercial break and walk around the house, or do some gentle stretches. When you talk on the phone, pace around the room instead of sitting down. Make it a rule to never sit for more than an hour at a time. Set a timer if you need to. Get up and walk to the kitchen for a glass of water. Park your car a little further from the entrance at the grocery store. These small snacks of movement add up, and they are far more sustainable and effective for long-term health span than an ambitious but inconsistent gym routine. And a crucial reminder, if you experience any sharp pain, dizziness, or unusual shortness of breath during any activity, stop immediately and consult your doctor. It's important to listen to your body and increase your activity level safely and gradually. This philosophy of gentle consistency, of avoiding extremes, applies perfectly to our fifth and final habit. It's not about a specific, restrictive diet, but a simple, powerful philosophy. The fifth habit of American centenarians is to adopt a just-enough approach to food. In a culture of supersized meals, all-you-can-eat buffets, and giant sodas, this might be the most countercultural habit of them all. I know how confusing the world of nutrition can be. One day, fat is the enemy. The next, it's carbs. We're told to eat keto, paleo, vegan, Mediterranean. It's enough to make you want to give up and just order a pizza. And I want to validate that feeling. It's completely understandable to feel overwhelmed by the conflicting advice. But what if I told you that for longevity, how much you eat might be even more important than the specific details of what you eat? This is the empathetic truth that cuts through the noise. Instead of obsessing over which specific diet is best, we can make a much more powerful and intelligent choice by simply focusing on moderation. This isn't about deprivation. It's about respecting our body's true needs. While the specific diets of long-lived people around the world vary, the one common thread is that they do not overeat. They tend to stop eating when they're about 80% full. This contrasts sharply with the American habit of eating until we are stuffed. In scientific terms, this practice is related to caloric restriction. Consuming fewer calories without becoming malnourished is one of the most robustly proven ways to extend lifespan in animal studies. It appears to work by reducing metabolic stress, lowering inflammation, and activating cellular repair pathways in the body. For us, it simply means listening to our body's natural hunger and satiety signals, signals that we often drown out with oversized portions and distracted eating. An article from the American Medical Association reinforces this, noting that while various healthy dietary patterns exist, they all share core principles. They are rich in nutrient-dense whole foods like fruits, vegetables, and whole grains, and they inherently discourage overconsumption of processed, calorie-dense foods. I recall a quote from a 101-year-old woman when asked about her diet. She chuckled and said, "There's no secret, dear. I eat good food. I cook for myself, and I eat until I am no longer hungry, not until my plate is empty." It's such a simple, yet profound, shift in perspective. It's moving the goalpost from finishing the meal to satisfying the body. The action step here is twofold. First, try using a smaller plate for your meals. A study from Cornell University found that people served themselves significantly less food when they used a 10-inch plate instead of a 12-inch plate. But they reported the same level of satisfaction. It's a simple psychological trick that really works. Second, practice mindful eating. Turn off the television. Put away your phone. Eat slowly and savor each bite. Pay attention to how your body feels. After you finish a reasonable portion, wait 15 or 20 minutes before deciding if you are truly still hungry for more. It takes that long for your brain to get the signal from your stomach that you are full. By simply slowing down and paying attention, you empower yourself to stop when you've had just enough. And as always, a quick note. If you are experiencing unintentional weight loss, a persistent lack of appetite, or difficulty swallowing, these are important red flags to discuss with your doctor, as they could indicate an underlying medical issue. And a quick but important reminder, I am not a doctor, and this video is for informational purposes only. The goal here is to share insights from credible research to empower you in your health journey. Please, always consult with your personal physician or a qualified healthcare provider before making any significant changes to your lifestyle, diet, or exercise routine. They know your personal health history and can give you advice tailored specifically to your needs. So there we have it. 5 powerful science-backed habits from 100-year-old Americans that have absolutely nothing to do with moving to a blue zone. Let's just quickly recap the incredible toolkit you now have. We've learned that the secret isn't in some magic pill or exotic diet. It's in the choices we make every single day. First, you claimed a win for your mind by learning to cultivate a resilient, optimistic mindset, building a psychological shield against stress. Second, you gained a win for your social health by understanding that the quality of your relationships, your deep social fitness, is the #1 predictor of a long, healthy life. Third, you took a win for your spirit by recognizing the profound importance of having a purpose, a reason to get out of bed in the morning that fills your days with meaning. Fourth, you got a win for your body by embracing consistent, natural movement, freeing yourself from the all-or-nothing trap of exercise. And fifth, you won back control in the kitchen by adopting the just-enough philosophy, listening to your body instead of the noise of diet culture. A core message in all of this is one of profound empowerment. You have so much more influence over the quality and length of your life, your health span, than you've been led to believe. It's not about genetics being your destiny. It's not about having to overhaul your entire existence. It's about making small, consistent, intelligent choices that compound over time, creating a life that is not only longer, but richer, more connected, and more vibrant. Now, I would love to hear from you. Which of these 5 habits was the biggest aha moment for you? Which one feels like something you can start incorporating into your life right away? Please take a moment to share your thoughts in the comments section below. Reading through the experiences and wisdom of this community is one of my greatest joys, and your insight could be the very thing someone else needs to read today. And finally, if you enjoyed this deep dive and appreciate content that respects your intelligence and is grounded in real science, please be sure to hit that subscribe button and ring the little notification bell. That way, you won't miss our future videos designed to help you live a healthier, more empowered life. Thank you so much for spending this time with me today. Be well, stay empowered, and I'll see you in the next video.